This is Luis Aragón, Managing Director of Teatro Máscara Mágica. Learn more about our company and Pastorela. Watch this show. First of all, thank you, Bill, for giving us this opportunity to talk about this amazing multicultural theater group. Teatro Máscara Mágica was really born out of necessity. You know, need is the mother of invention. And William Burgess, who basically grew up in theater from the old Globe to beyond, and Professor Jorge Huerta, who is Professor Emeritus at the University of California, Santa Barbara in theater. They saw that there was a dearth of theater that presented programming that was relevant to multicultural communities in San Diego. And so in the late 1980s, I think 1989, they formed at the time what was called Teatro Meta. That became Teatro Máscara Mágica, TMM, as we call it. And it has continued to flourish ever since. Bill Burgess has been the artistic managing director for what, 30 years. And in every one of those years, with the exception of 1 year of the 2-year pandemic, he provided, or TMM has provided programming. To study Bill's life is to study the architecture and the arc of a life in theater. Bill was born actually with, I believe he had polio. His legs were not functioning. He spent 3 or 4 years in braces. And then he became involved with the Old Globe in San Diego. When he joined the Old Globe, he did not know a lot of English. And he likes to say that he learned English through Shakespeare. So that's where his theater life began, I think at a very early age, in his early teens. And he continued to excel as an actor and then as a director. Bill has participated in every facet of theater production, you name it, you know, stage management, camera, etc. Another little interesting fact about Bill is that he was in France for 2 years, I believe, in his 20s. And he studied under the famous mime Marcel Marceau. And to this day, Bill attributes some of his technique to that, being able to conjure and represent a figure of communication without any verbal skills. So during his long career in theater, he has been involved in just about every major theater in California, actually. He was tapped to direct the Broadway production of Selena. And in fact, they were rehearsing in Broadway when, for various reasons, the show was shut down, totally unrelated to the cast or Bill. It's just there were other issues. But I like to think, having studied theater myself and studied the great impresarios, the great directors, I tell people that if Bill had not decided to dedicate his life to bringing relevant programming to communities that, frankly, were shut out of the so-called, traditional theater, I think he would have ended up on Broadway. So I remind people that we have in Bill a Broadway class director. And I cannot overestimate the impact he's had. Put aside the productions. It's important to know that through the 30 plus years that he's been directing TMM, generations of young people, primarily Latino, but not exclusively, have gone through his program. They've acted in the Pastorela, in the various other plays. They've done the camera work. They've done the stage management. In essence, Bill has directed a lab, a theater lab for young people, and many of whom have gone on to professional careers in theater, the movies, and to this day, he continues to do that. The other thing that I think Bill brings to the community is I've touched on a little bit, is education. Because there has not been a lot of programming that's geared to the multicultural communities, frankly, a lot of the communities aren't even aware of some of the the wonders of theater. So what does Bill do? He not only presents award-winning productions, but he does so at almost for nothing. I don't think he's ever made a penny in any production. His tickets range from $10 to, free tickets for youth and seniors, etc. I think when you look at the scope of his influence in this community, it is pretty impressive. TMM's mission is to provide programming for multicultural communities in San Diego, with an emphasis on Latino programming. And how we've effectuated this mission, besides some of the points that I've raised before, is we offer a venue for emerging playwrights, composers, directors. Some of the leading lights in Latino literature have had their first plays premiered and directed by Bill Virtus. As a matter of fact, in our upcoming season, 2023, we do have a new play coming to theater by a very noted writer. That's really our mission. If you think of Bill as kind of a Johnny Appleseed, spreading the seeds of theater and opening the eyes of people who have been kind of shut out of theater, that the theater is a place of magic. He gives us this passion. When I see Bill in action, it motivates me. I've known Bill for probably 20 years, have been involved on the board for the last 10 plus years, and recently became managing director. Part of my task is to spread the word and also to raise funds. It is remarkable to me that TMM has operated basically on a budget of $50,000 a year, which is almost embarrassing to say. That's maybe 3 or 4 costumes at a major theater. And yet you would not know that if you saw his productions. We are raising money through grants, through performances now that we've gotten through the pandemic. But his passion is really what motivates all of us and the community also. Bill's Rolodex, to use a kind of a term that many may not even understand, his contacts are incredible. So how does he do these productions with basically no money? Well, he gets the Carpenters Union to help him do a stage for free, a set for free. I could go on and on. He likes to say that he lives off the kindness of strangers, and it's really the kindness of people that admire him. Anyone who's not inspired by Bill in theater just isn't really listening or looking. I learned some years ago the power and majesty of theater. In my professional, I'm a lawyer, and I spent 30 years as a district attorney. And one of the things that we try to do as prosecutors is to prevent crime, right? It's nice to get them to prevent crime. I was at a community art gallery probably many years ago at lunch, and there was a group of Latino high school students. They were at an exhibit of paintings by a former gang member who had spent 25 years in prison. When I saw how these students were reacting to these paintings and how they were receiving the message of the artist, that reminded me the power of theater. All theater is political, right? It's only good theater if it has a message, and all messages are inherently political. The power of the message, the power of the voice is what theater is all about. And when you don't have a voice, when you don't literally have a spot on the stage, if you will, then no one hears you and no one sees you. When we present, for example, the Pastorela, it is a tradition, and it's more than just a religious homage. It's really about a community overcoming incredible odds, which you could really say is the backstory to so many Latinos and the farm workers. And so it conveys a message of overcoming, of strength. When we put on Zoot Suit and other Latino plays, it's powerful. So I realized and decided at that point, those years ago, that I would do whatever I could to bring theater and music, but primarily theater, to those who really did not have the opportunity to see it, and to offer the stage, literally, to the distinct voice of not just the Latino, but the African American, the Asian. One of the proudest moments for Teatro Máscara Mágica was recently when we premiered a musical called Not Working. Not Working is a kind of a modern day adaptation of Stud Terkel's book Working, that became a big musical on Broadway. Because of COVID, we decided, well, no one's working. So, and we got 3 theater groups: Asian Story Theater, San Diego Black Ensemble Theater Company, and Teatro Máscara. Those 3 theater companies put together what I consider to be a fantastic show. It included a dozen composers. Anybody who's ever had to put together a play or a musical, I mean, the thought of somehow bringing all those disparate voices, those disparate composers together, and it worked. So, when we talk about that we're a common ground theater, we mean it, and we literally show it. Pastorela is Teatro Máscara's signature production. For the past 32 years, Teatro Máscara has been presenting Pastorela during, of course, the holiday season in December. Bill Virtus, the director, wanted to tell a story that was universal and yet had so much gravitational cultural pull to Mexico. He went to Mexico City, and in the span of a few days sat and saw 35 different pasarelas. He returned to San Diego and found a pastorela play written by Mr. Moncalvo. And that's ironic, and I'll get to that in a moment. And every year since, it is a celebration. It actually is a musical. And it's, of course, the journey to the birth of Christ. But it is set in a battle of Satan versus, Gabriel. And to his credit, Bill has fashioned pastorelas that there's some humor involved. For a few years, it was kind of a commentary on what was going on in society. This year, we are reprising Montalvo's original pastorela that first ran so many years ago, and I'm so excited about that. It is a play that involves children, involves families. In the last few productions, people have come up to me afterwards and says, my granddad was one of the actors, or my brother was Gabriel, or the connections, the generational connections are astounding. We literally have 3 going on 4 generations of families who have participated. And it is, of course, become a tradition, particularly in the Latino community. The story is an old one, that of the pilgrimage of the shepherd leading the flock to what they believe, who they believe will be the Savior, the Christ child. And along their journey, they are challenged by Satan, the devil, who, of course, does not want this child born, and in fact is endeavoring to do away with the child. So all the while throughout the journey, the pilgrims are menaced by Satan and his devils, and somehow Gabriel is always able to come in and rescue these pilgrims. And of course, there's the inevitable fight between Satan and Gabriel. So they, of course, journey forward, and all along the way, they are singing songs like Silent Night, both in Spanish and English, and other songs that are more culturally attuned. And it's really a story of victory. It's a story of overcoming. It is set in a religious context, i.e., they're going to the Christ child, but I think it's a universal story about people overcoming, incredible odds and still moving forward with their dream, towards their dream. I think audiences love it because, number one, it's a family show. At the end of every pastorela, we hang a pinata, and we invite all the kids. And there are some super sluggers out there, and the kids love it, and the families love it. I go to a lot of plays, and pretty much after the play is over, people pretty much, they go out. Pastorela, they're like there for as long as they can, because they're talking about the play, they're talking to the actors. It's really kind of an intimate experience, and it goes deep to the heart of the yearnings and the struggles of not only Latino but anybody who's in the audience. We all have, as they say, a cross to bear. We all have our journeys. We all have our challenges. And the spirit of these pilgrims, that no matter what, they continue forward because their belief overcomes any obstacle before them. Well, what I believe, and I think I know what the audience experiences, is really a very positive and reinforcing, uplifting message that dreams are worth fighting for, that it's not just people with means that can overcome adversity. During the journey, we learned that these pilgrims barely have enough to eat. And yet when you see their spirit, they're happy because they're moving towards something. They know that a better day lies ahead. And I hope that vicariously the audience connects with that. And whatever they may be going through, they will get inspired and by the story and the courage that they're witnessing during the play. First of all, I just love it. I love the acting, and it's, of course, I've seen the rehearsals, and you'd think it would be, man, but no, it's great. I love the energy. Isn't that what theater is? Every theater production, every performance is different. It's unique. It's not a rerun. It's live. And so I love that part of it. And having been to the rehearsals, I love seeing the before and the after, the brilliant acting and singing and directing. But I'm also looking at the audience. I want to know, are they connecting? And I love it when the entire theater breaks out in applause or laughter or sometimes groans. That tells me they're connecting, that this is an interactive experience for them. So those are things that I look for. And I just love what it's bringing to the community. And I feel like I've used the word intimate before. It really is an intimate experience shared by a community. And I believe it has a lasting power. To anyone who's watching, you got to see this production. It is joyful, great music, great acting. It's a story you're not going to see a lot of places. And it's done with originality and authenticity. This could have almost a made in Mexico stamp on it. And I'm so happy to say that Teatro Máscara has a home. For so many years, we were actually like the pilgrims in the Pastorela, going from one theater to another. Well, guess what? We now have a home, and it's a beautiful home. It's an intimate theater of 90 seats, a brand new state-of-the-art technology, lighting, everything. I joke that it has a celestial vibe to it because it was built in what was the first Catholic church in San Isidro. And it still has all it's just the inside that was renovated. So it's a beautiful production. It's a beautiful story. And it's a slice of culture that many are probably not going to be exposed to. And I think that unlike some theater productions, this is really, you will feel the connections, the energy of the community that you're sitting with. So I can't say enough or encourage enough people to, and by the way, the tickets are almost nothing. I think our top ticket is $20. And groups of 10, it's $10 a ticket. So you can take 10 people for $100. I mean, so come on, get your tickets. We open December 8th. We close December 23rd. Teatro Máscara is a very special place among theater companies because there are no expectations. And I want to amplify on that. In other words, there's no, okay, we have to write a play that's going to bring in X number of audience. So, find that sweet spot in the story or do a musical that's been done 100,000 times because, maybe instead of expectations, I should use the word freedom. There is incredible artistic freedom. And because we don't have those limitations, we're not about money. We're not about fame. We're about theater. And we are particularly about telling stories that have never been told before, using voices that have rarely been heard before. So for emerging playwrights, emerging writers of musicals, directors, you can come to TMM and you can follow your passion. And there's no one going to be screaming at you about you're over budget because you won't have a budget. So I encourage you to come. And of course, what you are doing for the community, you are providing a generation of young people. You're opening the stage, the curtain, And some of these young people, as I say, they go on, they become actors, they become directors. You know, it's a beautiful interaction that you will have. The reason that Teatro Máscara is important, and the reason why I think we enjoy the strong support of our community, is because besides the terrific programming that we offer, we are a venue that offers educational opportunity. Matter of fact, I'm excited to announce that Teatro Máscara is starting a scholarship fund. We're calling it Act Proud. And the funds, this scholarship fund will go to young actors who act not only with our theater, but other theater groups, because it takes money. And a lot of the actors, especially the young people, they have day jobs. So any extra income. So we're really excited. This is a beautiful effort. That whatever funds we raise will be exclusively for scholarships that we will award every year. And I encourage people to donate to us. Look, you know, when you look at where we are as a society, the pandemic kind of held up a mirror to who we are. And there was some sadness in the reflection. Technology, while amazing, has also tended to bring us apart. You know, we don't meet in person anymore. We Zoom, and we could go on and on. So events like theater that bring us together, I think are needed more than ever. And when you see a great production, and I'll use a reference that people like, The Sound of Music. It kind of allows us to look at the glass half full, even though most of the time we're presented with a half empty. So art and theater, it's our heart, it's our soul, and it is exercise for our better angels. This is Luis Aragon, Managing Director of the great theater company Teatro Máscara Mágica. Come and see our Pastorela. Get tickets now. Get them now. Only 16 performances. I will see you there.